Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News Weekend. I'm Dennis Ward. Our first story is about a chief who was part of that now famous trip to Rome to see Pope Francis. His reason? To confront his past as a residential school survivor. Tina House starts us off tonight.
It's been years since Chief Ralph Leon Jr. has been back to his former residential school.
I haven't come back here because of what's still in my mind, what I witnessed here. The mental abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, verbal abuse that I witnessed here. So, you know, with no amount of money, no counselor could ever take that away from my mind. So it's going to always be there.
Chief Leon says he was 10 years old when he was forcibly taken from his community of Stehalis and brought here to St. Mary's. And unbeknownst to him, it was only a half-hour away from his home. It was first opened in 1863 as a boarding school, but then reopened as a residential school in 1882. It closed down in 1984, but with that closure, countless stories emerged of horrendous abuses that took place here. In 2004, a former school employee was convicted of 12 counts of indecent assault and sentenced to 3 years in prison. The former residential school is now being used for office space for his nation and a daycare, but as we tour inside, he recalls horrific memories as we enter this small room.
This area, this was a storage room where they kept the mops and brooms and stuff like that. And I'm surprised the sink is still there. But this little room you didn't want to end up in. You know, the things I witnessed in this room is, you know, devastating to any human being, you know. And I never wish that on to any child, you know. All the abuses happened in this room. So it's my first time looking in this room for years. Holy, it looks way different.
And as the tour continued, we met the live-in janitor who has now converted the former boys' dormitory into his own small apartment.
And that's where my bedroom used to be in there. My bed used to be.
And on the other side of the apartment is now a storage area, but also where another part of the dormitory continued.
This was our intermediate dorm. Our washrooms were in here. Our showers were here. Place where we brushed our teeth is here. It's where they cut our hair. And yeah, once we were up here, we weren't allowed to leave.
And these are the original sinks from back then. And then the janitor offered to take us to the second floor, which is kept locked, where we were shocked to find this. An actual jail cell with a small toilet and a small bed. Chief Leon says he didn't even know this existed, or what could possibly be any reason for why it was built for a child.
I knew about certain places, but if we weren't allowed there, then we didn't know.
Are you shocked to see this cell here in a school?
Yeah.
Did you ever hear of anybody having to come here?
I knew of my ancestors, the ones that passed. They used to tell me the stories of, you don't want to be too bad, end up in rooms like this. And, you know, it's what they have control of is something that we'd never wish on anybody.
And even more shockingly is a child's playground just outside of the window with bars. APTN was not able to confirm if this jail cell was from the residential school era, but there is no other explanation, and other survivors from across Canada have testified that they recall jail cells in other residential schools. And back outside the former school, Chief Leon reflects on how his experience here has changed his life.
The people that are probably watching this, they can understand what I'm saying. They could see that my hair is short and it's combed. The clothes that I'm wearing is modern. So this place did its job.
And as he sings this honor song, he says he is also thinking about the fact that he, along with his wife and a few family members, are about to fly to Rome, Italy, to join a delegation to confront Pope Francis about the impacts of residential schools on Indigenous people.
We're like a broken people still. This is only one residential school. There's still the scoop, foster care, day school, all those things. And it started where? So, hum squalawa, I'm going to be strong when I go over there. The things that I gathered from my community, I'm going to stand tall like the totem pole.
And just 1 week later, they arrived in Rome, Italy, to continue their path to healing. And on this day, April 1st, 2022, Pope Francis issued a formal apology and promised to come to Canada in the near future. How does it feel to be here at this moment right now, standing in the courtyard of the Vatican?
Today is a historical day. Historical day for our ancestors, historical day for our elders of today, our survivors of today. And I come here, come here with a strong spirit, the strength that we gathered from our home, the strength that we gathered from our children, and we come here with only good intentions.
And for Chief Leon and his wife Annie, who also attended boarding school, he says it's helped them on their own healing journey.
It's a big step forward, a step forward of being here. The spirit of our ancestors are here with us, and that's why it's emotional. Today, I'm really grateful for my culture.
Tina House, APTN National News, Rome.
Quite a story. Well, a small Ojibway First Nation has just opened a new business on the busy Toronto-Sudbury corridor. At the grand opening, they took the opportunity to teach people about the dangers of human trafficking. Annette Francis shows us how.
This new 8-tier gas station is a great business venture for Shawaniga First Nation because it's located on Highway 69, north of Parry Sound. According to Chief Adam Paywis, over 10,000 vehicles pass by every day. That's why the Truckers Against Trafficking exhibit has been invited to spend the day.
This tragedy happens every day, and so we don't want to see anyone go missing, whether they're Indigenous or non-Indigenous. We don't want to see anyone get hurt, and we also want to remind people that if you see something that's amiss, that it's not a wrong move to pick up the phone and call somebody.
The Freedom Truckers Mobile Unit is an American initiative that travels the United States, educating truckers on what to watch for. It's the first time the exhibit has come to Canada. Brandy Boughton is the exhibit's project coordinator. She says its purpose is to show people to look out for red flags.
If you might be in a rest area or a truck stop and you happen to see, young children being unloaded out of a vehicle that are walking through a parking lot, knocking on windows or doors, or someone who looks like they may be malnourished or, abused.
Inside the walk-through unit are stories of victims from across the United States. A tearful Christine King couldn't believe what she was reading.
But the stories that are there, they're just, to see the age of these young girls, these young women who were just girls and then became young women. At the age of 14 and 15, that's... to see this mirror, to read that story that they were to practice. That's not what we practice, how to strip at 14 and 15.
According to a report by the Native Women's Association, roughly 50% of trafficked victims are Indigenous women. Bridget Perrier was one of them.
I was lured and debased into the sex trade at the age of 12 from a child welfare-run group home. My traffickers knew my weakness.
Perrier is co-founder of Sex Trade 101, a survivor-led organization that educates the public and provides support for those still involved in prostitution. She says Canada has spent millions on the issues, yet exploited youth and women continue to fall through the cracks.
This is great, but what we need are exiting services tailored for First Nations women and girls. We have nothing. We don't need to put survivors or victims of human trafficking in a domestic violence shelter. We need our own safe house. We don't have it. We don't have a safe house that's tailored for youth. It's just religious organizations that I cannot send our girls to.
The Freedom Truckers Mobile Unit will head to Toronto for a few more shows before heading back to North Carolina later this week. But Belton hopes to bring it back to do more community events. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Shawanaga First Nation.
A family in Saskatchewan is searching for answers after their 7-month-old ended up with a broken leg while in the hospital. That story and more still to come. Welcome back. A women's shelter in Calgary says there is an overrepresentation of Indigenous people fleeing domestic violence in the city. They're working to combat those high numbers by providing a culturally safe space. Tamara Pimentel has that story.
About 40% of the women who come here to the Discovery House in Calgary are Indigenous. But currently there isn't a space at this shelter where women can have access to their culture while fleeing domestic violence. And that's why the staff here is working to create just that.
Where people can meet with our elders.
Executive Director Leslie Hill says the overrepresentation of Indigenous people dealing with domestic violence stems from colonization and intergenerational trauma.
We believe that preventing future generations of domestic violence is about that healing and reconnection to culture and doing things in a way that's really partnering with our elders and having them lead the way towards that healing.
Hill says the Discovery House will be working with Elder Pam Heavyhead to turn this computer lab into a teepee-shaped room filled with traditional medicines and Indigenous drums from around the world. The healing space will be accessible within 6 months to a year. Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
How did baby Tobias Soze end up with a broken leg at the Jim Pattison Children's Hospital in Saskatoon? That's what the family of the 7-month-old boy wants to know. APTN's Leanne Sanders reports.
Baby Tobias Soze was born prematurely last September 1st and has been in the hospital since. His mother, Tila Soze, says he was happy and doing well when she visited him on April 4th. When she returned to visit him a few days later, she found her baby in a full leg cast, and the head nurse couldn't tell her what happened.
And then when I walked in, his leg was covered up I walked in and I uncovered him to pick him up, just to find out he had a cast on, like a whole leg cast, and it scared me. Yeah, she just came in and told me that in front of me that early that morning they noticed his leg he was in pain because of his leg, and then they took him down for x-rays just to find out that his femur bone was broken, and they told me it was a slight break.
Now the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations is calling for a full, formal, independent investigation with an FSIN-appointed health official working alongside. FSIN Vice Chief David Pratt says they want to determine exactly what took place.
This can't be covered up. Too often, we've been as First Nations people, we're dealing where incidents happen within the healthcare system as well as within the justice system, and they're swept under the rug. And people look at it, well, it's just another Indian, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter.
A statement from the Saskatchewan Health Authority reads, "We are very sorry to hear about the concerns being raised by this family and are working to ensure conversations with family and their supports, formal safety event processes, and appropriate medical investigations are completed." It goes on to say reviews may include case conferences with the family and staff and a formal review process. Tila Suze just wants to know what happened to her baby.
I asked how that happened. They said they don't know. They won't give me an answer.
Leanne Sanders, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Time for another quick break, but coming up we have some stories on an incredible beater and a puzzle maker. Stick around. Welcome back. Apparently puzzle boxes are a popular thing to collect, and their intricate design and mechanics make them tough to solve. One of the world's best puzzle box creators is an Ojibway man from the Georgina Island Band in Ontario. And Francis takes us there.
Kelly Snake spends a lot of his time in this little workshop, and he's eager to show off how one of his creations works.
What we have here is a multi-step puzzle. When it's finished, it's going to be over 100 moves. And so you have to get through all of the stuff that's down below here. There's stuff that's not finished down here yet. But once you get in here, there's actually real treasure. We have a 2012 Year of the Dragon silver coin that's secretly hidden inside this box as well. And once you just know the right maneuvers, it pops right out. So, and a lot of things like that happen. Drawers pop out, spring-loaded. It's such a fun experience.
His mechanical boxes are built with such intricate detail, they're wanted by many collectors across the globe.
CEOs love this kind of stuff. It challenges their brain. I have a lot of university professors, people who have been successful in business. They're finding that these things are a lot like mental gym, right? So that it exercises their mind because there's a known solution. And knowing that it's known, and you still have to solve it, it's a real challenge for them. So that's why these guys have whole rooms full of these puzzles.
And he's sold many.
They've all sold. They sold within 5 minutes of me showing the first one. Everybody was so keen to get one. Yeah, and so these are $8,000 Canadian.
Snake really loves making these boxes. He puts a lot of thought into them. Although he won't show us all the secrets, he makes smaller recycled puzzle boxes that he's happy to share with everyone.
Look how beautiful the artwork on that is, right? I just love it. And so it's locked. But what you do is you go, oh, with this box here, you think of the color cerulean blue and it will unlock. And I'll show you. And I'll say, okay, think of the color cerulean blue and tell me when you got it. Okay, ooh, look at that. See, it unlocked. It was all just me. But then what I do is I'll say, then you got to do this move where you tap it. And then with one move, the lid unlocks and opens.
Another thing Snake desires to do is pass along his passion for these boxes to children.
I want to inspire kids. So I designed this one day. It just popped into my mind. I don't even know. And basically what it is, there's a door here, and it's locked by 5 dials, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the way it works is that there's a child that's going to solve this side, and then using cooperative learning, the children watching this side are able to give clues using native language, math, poetry.
In fact, Snake held a puzzle box workshop with some 3rd and 4th graders at the school on his reserve and hopes to do more of that. Annette Francis, APTN National News from Snake's workshop on Georgina Island.
Amazing work. Well, now to some more incredible work. A young designer from the Yukon is turning heads with his bedazzling owl-inspired beading. Not only is he becoming a who's who in the beading world, but breaking gender norms in the process. Here's Sarah Connors with that story.
Yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm.
Owls are what Cohen Quash is known for. At only 12 years old, the young beater already has made a name for himself. Most know him as Owl Boy for his one-of-a-kind owl pendants.
It's my great-grandma Barbara's spirit animal. She really loved owls, and I kind of just loved owls too. I watch Harry Potter movies a lot, and the owl head wig, that's what it also came from.
Quash is Taltan, Tlingit, and Casca, which he incorporated into his business name, Mosey SK Designs.
This is my very first photo shoot I did with Gotham Beauty.
He's already had a photo shoot with models displaying his designs and a trade with Casca Cree fashion designer Shosho Esquire. Quash's love of beading began with his great-grandmother Pansy Forsberg.
This is where this goes up here.
The pair started working together on purses when Quash was 9. Quash's skill led the pair to design more complicated projects like this owl pendant. Forsberg says it was tricky at first.
And after he finished sewing it, I would tell him the mistakes he makes, so I'll show him how to take it apart and redo it, and he did really well.
Now, with more intricate designs like this owl pendant, she says Quash is an accomplished beater.
Just has imagination of putting the owls together really inspired me. This is how we sew it together. You know, one day you're going to do this.
Today they're working on Quash's grade 7 regalia with flowers Forsberg beaded herself. It's time they cherish spending together.
It's good. We kind of we talk, we watch movies sometimes together, and we kind of just bead together.
Quash says it's not common to see boys beading, and he hopes his work will inspire others to break gender norms.
I would just say that's what I think, boys should bead, and I would love to see more male beaders have their own businesses, and I would be really happy. It doesn't really matter if I'm a boy who beads.
Forsberg says beading belongs to everyone.
For me, I was thinking, Cohen's a boy and he's wanting to bead, and it's all girl stuff, but really it isn't girl stuff, it's boy stuff too.
From owl pendants to starting a business before he enters high school, Quash is excited for what the future holds.
It's a big achievement for me.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Watson Lake.
Great stuff. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News this weekend. For news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.